Sunday at 9 on CNN.
We need 5 more in order to reopen the government, and that's really where we're going to focus, is how to get those 5 additional Democrats.
Vice President J.D. Vance making an appearance during today's White House briefing to say the administration will not be negotiating with Senate Democrats who are unwilling to back off their party's demands over Affordable Care Act subsidies. But Vance did say he's in private talks with several Democrats who he says may be willing to negotiate a quick end to the standoff.
And a lot of them will admit in private that it's kind of absurd to shut down the people's government over these disagreements, but just agree to negotiate with us in good faith on these issues. And of course, we're having that conversation with them.
All right, joining us now is Democratic Senator Ruben Gallego of Arizona. Senator, thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Has the vice president reached out to you as someone who comes from a swing state to talk about this or not?
No, and we represent, we're the Democrats, me and Mark Hill, they represent the Democrats represent the most reddest states. But look, I am in conversations with other senators, and we are trying to find a way to do 2 things. Number 1, obviously open up the government, but number 2, in that time period, prior to November 1st, have a pathway forward to make sure that we continue the tax credits that keep premiums low, insurance premiums low, for 24 million Americans. That is a conversation that's happening right now. It's not moving very far, but at least we're having initial conversation among some senators.
Senator, do you think, bottom line here, that this is good for the country, shutting down the government for this reason?
I think what matters is that protecting 24 million Americans from having their insurance premiums doubled. In Arizona, more than 100,000 Arizonans will lose their health coverage in general if we don't continue these premium subsidies by November 1st, is a good thing, right? That is what, at the end of the day, matters here. Because things are already really expensive. Everyday Americans are paying more for cars, for housing, for food. And now the Republicans, led by Donald Trump, are going to increase insurance premiums on average of 24 million Americans by 50%. So we have a time period between now and November 1st to fix that. And it's up to the Republicans whether they want to help engage in that and stop these increases on these Americans.
Senator, I'm interested to know what you say to your colleague in the House, Jared Golden, a Democrat from Maine. He says that this government shutdown is the result of hardball politics driven by demands of far-left groups that they're making on Democratic Party leaders to make a show of their opposition to President Trump. The shutdown is hurting Americans and our economy. The irony is that it has handed more power to the president. Now, he says this fight is ostensibly about health care, and he notes that he opposes the Medicaid cuts, wants to extend the tax credits. But then he says some of my colleagues in the majority party have reasonable concerns going to high-income households. Normal policy disagreements, though, are no reason to subject our constituents to the continued harm of this shutdown. Do you think he's wrong?
That's a whole lot of gibberish. The most important thing, again, is that what I know for a fact, 24 million Americans are going to have their premiums increasing starting November 1st.
You think that this is the result of hardball politics driven by demands of far-left groups? That's gibberish?
No, I think that whole conversation, everything you just said, to me doesn't really matter. I know what the fact is.
So you don't think that Chuck Schumer, for example, is acting because he might face a primary from AOC?
24 million Americans, no, I don't think, I think that's BS. 24 million Americans are going to have their premiums increased November 1st. That's what matters here. That's what I want to fix. I represent the state with the most Republicans of any senator, any Democratic senator. What I hear about is the fact that people are worried about the cost of everything. And on November 1st, hundreds of thousands of Arizonans are going to look at their open enrollment and they're going to realize they're going to have to pay thousands of dollars more premiums because the United States government did not act. That is a problem. And there's a way for us to fix this. There's a way for us to negotiate this. And there could be a lot of things that we can negotiate, even within the ACA, about who should be getting it, who should not be getting it, what the premiums, what the lows are, all that. But the fact that we're not even talking about that, the fact that Republicans are saying we'll take care of that post-November, tells me they're not serious. Because anybody that's ever dealt with insurance, I'm sure you've bought insurance, I bought insurance on the market. Once open enrollment happens, the prices are set. And we're not going to let Americans have an increased cost because Republicans, by nature, just want to knee-jerk try to take away insurance from people.
And you think whatever costs the country will bear from the shutdown are worth it for this reason?
Well, here's the difference, right? If you're a government employee, you will get your back pay. If the United States government, Donald Trump, the Republicans, do not extend these tax credits, U.S. citizens are going to pay, 24 million of them, on average, double the premiums for the rest of their lives. Rest of their lives. Right now, when the cost of food is high, groceries high, energy is high, cars are high, housing is high, now Donald Trump Republicans are going to add on top of that, willingly, insurance on top of that. And there is no going back. We could back pay a lot of our government workers. It sucks what they're going to go through. But what's really going to hurt is the 24 million Americans that Donald Trump and the Republicans are willingly going to increase their insurance premiums just out of partisan politics.
So, look, I totally take your point about healthcare costs, which are enormously high, and you can even see a lot of Republicans, moderate ones especially, acknowledging that this should be part of it. But are you arguing that politics inside the Democratic Party, progressive pressure to show that you're standing up to Donald Trump, has nothing to do with this shutdown?
Yeah, I'm arguing that we care about 24 million Americans losing their premiums and millions of them actually losing coverage.
And that is not about politics inside the party at all.
No, shockingly enough, we as Democrats who have always been talking about affordable health care, who have run as the core of our party to bring more affordable health care to millions of Americans, are saying that we should actually have health care.
I get that.
And guess what that was about? So this is what I'm telling you right now. This is about affordable health care. This is about the fact that Americans, 24 million Americans, are going to have their premiums increased. I'm sorry you don't believe that. But that's what's actually happening. Americans are hurting right now.
I never said that I don't believe that. I absolutely.
Well, you keep pushing back.
I see the policy.
The Americans are hurting right now.
On paper,
Americans are hurting right now.
Yeah, of course they are.
And Republicans are willing to increase their premiums. They're going to increase their premiums starting November 1st. There's an option not to do that. And I'm willing to open up the government for a couple of weeks for us to negotiate that if I know that we're going in that direction. But I'm certainly not going to let us allow 24 million Americans
so you would consider
to
that
get their health
if
insurance.
you got a good faith offer from, say, the vice president or someone else in the Trump administration to talk about this, you would consider reopening the government for a short period of time to do it?
Yeah, a short period of time prior to November 1st. Because November 1st, when open enrollment starts, 24 million Americans are going to recognize the fact that premiums have just increased. And that's going to be in addition to the fact that food is more expensive, energy is more expensive, housing is more expensive. Nothing is going in the right direction for working class America. And Republicans and Donald Trump are just going to add more on top of that starting November 1st.
All right, fair enough. An interesting potential opening there. Senator Ruben Gallego, thank you very much for your time, sir. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next, the president's push to put federal troops on American streets coming to 2 new cities today. The Secretary of Defense and the Attorney General have just landed in one of them.
New Orleans, Soul of the City, premieres Sunday at 10 on CNN.
Who's coming in the driveway?
My daughter is being treated for leukemia. I hope